I drove home to Conway. I mean, Charleston's not a bad drive. The same day, did not leave except for like a 12-hour period to go pack up my apartment in Mount Pleasant and move my stuff home. I was not going to leave her side. Like, you don't do that. I mean, and I had the privilege enough to work from home, do my grad classes online. Why would I not spend every last moment I could with her, you know? It was crazy. I was living in Mount Pleasant at the time, working, and I get a call from my mom and my aunt, and they're like, you know, your mom has lesions on your liver. And immediately I was like, what does that mean? Like, that doesn't sound good, you know? So I hang up the phone. I'm like thinking, what do I do? I call my cousin Laura, who is a nurse practitioner. And I was like, what does this mean? She's like, it doesn't sound good. And I immediately just broke down and said, I have to get home. And I came back to Conway and have been here ever since. So the very first time meeting with Dr. Atani, her oncologist, you know, she encouraged us to get a second opinion. She even took the time to research clinical trials for my mom, whether that be at MUSC or like Mayo Clinic in Jacksonville, because we had family in both places too. Ultimately, she wanted the best for my mom, and so did her care team. And even the biopsies, the endoscopies that we had to go to, we always felt seen and important, like we weren't just a number. And I felt seen as a caregiver, like they wanted to know what my insights were, my observations, things like that. So I think staying at CMC for her treatment was incredible. They made us feel safe, like we were in a safe place. We could ask questions, even if they were silly questions. You know, I had no medical background. My mom had no medical background. So we were coming at this with a blind eye. Like, where do we begin? Like, appointments we have to make, bills we have to pay, things like that. So just all-encompassing was super helpful, and it was a great experience. They showed dignity and respect by, I mean, simple things like identifying us by our first names, you know, not shunning us off. Me as the caregiver, they asked for my input, my thoughts, things that I was noticing, like observations. For example, I was in grad school online at the time, and we had just come back for a treatment after the holidays. And Christy, my mom called her Christy from Jersey, because that's how they connected. She asked me how my finals went, and I was just taken aback. Like, you would think that's a simple question to ask someone to catch up with, but it made me feel seen as a caregiver, like, oh, they're paying attention to me and what I tell them too, you know? So that was a big, like, oh, I feel seen here, you know? I would say she had a good experience as well, despite the outcome of her passing away, but I don't think she ever felt disrespected. I think she felt seen. I think she felt heard. And like I said, with Dr. Atani even recommending a second opinion, like giving us oncologists in her network to get a second opinion, just she felt like her cancer journey was important to the team as well.
Do you think she was comfortable when she was here?
1,000%, 1,000%, 1,000%, yeah. I mean, if she needed water, like I would try to get up and get it, but Christy or Pam would be like, no, you sit there, we'll get her water, you know, simple things like that. So yeah, I think it was a good experience for her. I would say definitely from simple things is like getting us scheduled for like chemo a day early, or noticing patterns in her energy based on chemo, things that, you know, would impact her personal life. They were accommodating in that aspect. I personally still struggled with having to, you know, switch off caregiver versus son. You know, I wanted to make things easy for her. I was handling like appointments, bills, things like that. But yeah, I think the care team made it a much easier experience. I would recommend CMC because the team works together, whether it's like an endoscopy or having biopsies done or seeing your primary care physician. Everyone works together. I think they update each other on the diagnosis and things. Like mom's primary care physician at the time was updated by our oncologist and vice versa. There was no disconnect in the care. There was no issues in having to get things scheduled. They were always one step ahead, and scheduling the endoscopy or getting the chemo ahead so we could go on a trip, you know. They were always thinking one step ahead, and it just alleviated that burden from my shoulders, metaphorically. So I think the biggest thing is just continuing to ensure that caregivers are involved. You know, at the end of the day, we want our patient, our family member, our friend to heal, or at the very least have the best experience. So involving us, I think, is crucial, because we see things at the home or outside of the hospital that, providers may not see. So I think that's just continuing to integrate us into the care is crucial. I think it changed me as a whole because personally, I realized that life is so short. You can't take any day for granted. If there's something that you don't want to do, don't do it. We have responsibilities, of course, but if something's not bringing you joy, it should not be a part of your life. Professionally, I volunteered for hospice for a couple of years after my mom passed, just to give back to my community. Ended up landing a job with Mayo Clinic in their education shield as a project manager, but I work fully remote, so that's awesome. And most recently, I've joined CMC as a patient family advisor, so I get to see the inner workings of CMC and really support them from the patient and caregiver experience.